Something Strange. Night Patrol, Chapter 24. By Foxgear. Whew. By Foxgear. Read by Icy Night. Topaz flew forward at the sound of the announcer's command, rushing his opponent with a quick kill, figuring that since his opponent bore no close-range weapons, either meant he was adapted for bare-clawed combat or a ranged weapon user, and since he carried what seemed to be a projectile thrower of some kind, Topaz figured it was a pretty safe bet. Red was a long-range fighter, which usually means an average or poor performance in close-range combat. Of course, there were exceptions to the rule, but they were statistically low. Claws flexed wide open, Topaz landed on his opponent's platform, breaking into a gallop as to knock Red off the edge and send him down an abyss below, where if everything went according to plan, he would strike and end the match via a skull crush to the ground. As he drew closer, however, something happened. There was a pain in his left shoulder. Nothing extreme, but it was noticeable. Pushing on Topaz was confident it was just a passing thing. His opponent had made no moves he could see. In fact, he was standing his ground even as he drew closer. He was extremely calm. Too calm. Veering left, Topaz caught the faint glimmer of something whizzing past him. Something shiny. Something most likely made of metal. Swooping down below the platform and disappearing into the clouds, Topaz pulled the object from his shoulder to inspect it. The object was a 6-inch long steel dart, most likely shot from his opponent's strange weapons. Taking a quick sniff of the needle, he detected no poison that he knew of. Still, that didn't mean there couldn't be some mixed in. Red's weapon would certainly be big enough to hold at least 100, if not several hundred needles. It would be illogical to think at least a few of them were specialized for a more sure kill. Then again, this was a match, so it was also possible he wasn't allowed to use poisons. No, Topaz thought. It was too risky to assume there was no poison. In fact, from now on, he should assume all the needles are poisoned and should avoid them at all cost. With that out of the way, it was time to move on to the next part of his counterattack, which was luring the enemy down here. From the looks of things, Red hasn't given chase. A smart move, as staying in his opponent's position would give him a 360-degree range of fire, and technically he held the high ground, for now at least. That was what Red had in his favor, but his current position was also known, which Topaz intended to use to his advantage. Leaping off the stone column, Topaz looked at it with an inquiring eye before nodding. Yeah, his plan would work. Stretching his wings as far as they could stretch, Topaz inhaled, his chest puffing up with air as it began to glow with orange lightning. He held his breath, forcing the storm of magic in his throat to spread throughout his body. till finally his entire body was lit up like the northern lights. All charged up, spreading his wings, Topaz flew away from the column, swinging his wings like swords as he did so, launching 2 arcs of plasma that cut through the column. The column shook and rumbled as it toppled to the ground, bringing his opponent falling down with it. Red flew nimbly through the falling debris, firing his dart shooter every chance he got. Topaz easily avoided getting hit as the Griffin's aim was all over the place. Diving down, Topaz nosedived towards the ground, letting the Griffin chase him as he went. Swerving side to side, he avoided another barrage of darts. Winding around one of the stone pillars, Topaz ran along the side and kicked off the side so that he was behind his opponent, and with his body aglow with plasma, he unleashed another set of plasma blades at the Griffin, who, finally trying to get away. The blade struck home, cleaving an X into the Griffin's torso. Lucky for the Griffin, he had held back, saving him from being cleaved in two. Swooping down, Topaz caught the Griffin by the scruff of his neck and carried back up to the top of the pillars, dropping him on the nearest pillar as the crowd gave him a chilling cold shudder. Up in the sky, a giant orb replayed the last seconds of his fight, meaning the crowd had seen everything. But how? The announcer flew down and raised his claws to the air. The winner is Topaz Slicer with a dashing victory. Please give him a claw, folks, for an excellent display of skill and sportsmanship. Reluctantly, the crowd gave a soft clap. Clearly, none of them were very thrilled that he won, but he did hear the excited clopping of hooves from the royal session as Princess Luna gave him the best applause she could. He smiled and waved at her before leaving the arena. Something is going on, he told Six's Nightingale as he landed. Something's not right here. Care to be a little more vague, Topaz? Nightingale replied sarcastically. Given your experience, Nightingale, I'll be a little less skeptical and a little more observant, Six's rebuked. She does have a point, though. What's bothering you, Topaz? It's... He began, only for the announcer to speak over him. Will the next combatants please enter the arena for the next match? That's my cue, Nightingale said excitedly, flying away. Sixes pulled Topaz closer and whispered, whatever is bothering you, you'll address later. For now, get up to Luna and stay by her side. Don't let anything stop you from getting to her. Understand? Anything. Topaz nodded and flew up above the stands and made his way over to the sections Luna was sitting in. Hopefully he wouldn't have any trouble from the Griffin guards. For the time being, Sixes kept his back against a wall and his eyes peeled for anything suspicious. Hopefully this isn't a repeat of the Crystal Empire, Sixes muttered under his breath as the announcer began the match. He really hoped it wasn't. Nightingale drifted lazily to her starting position and observed her opponent, a completely black griffin with a body of a raven and panther. On his wings rested a set of wing blades, blades mounted on wings, obviously. He carried no other obvious weapon. She decided right then she would only use her wing blades out of respect. She could use her gem rockets to finish him off right away, but where was the fun in that? She earned her title of Night Hunter, the title of elite, and she'd be damned well, was going to prove it. If he started pulling tricks, though, then all bets were off. She would be making fried bird for the night hounds, the dogs they recently started training. Some pony thought it was a good idea, and it was proving to be true so far. She should probably focus. The announcer was about to begin the match. Champions, are you ready? Begin! Both of them took off like a bat out of hell, flying straight up into the air at high speeds. Nightingale circled around, trying to catch up to the Black Griffin, whose name she didn't catch at the start of the match. That's what you get when we monologue. Hey! She yelled, trying to get the Griffin's attention. What's your name? The Griffin turned his head, looking very confused. Why do you ask? He shouted back, his voice a lot higher than Nightingale imagined it would be. The wind must be distorting her hearing. I was kind of embarrassing, but I wasn't paying attention to the announcer, and I know I don't know your name, and it's distracting me from the fight. So can you please tell me it? Nightingale asked as they made their third lap around the arena. Every pony was probably thinking they were just sizing each other up or something. The Griffin blinked at her like she from the second head. Seriously? He asked, not believing her. Really, who would be so airheaded before a match? Of course, he's seen sillier things happen in battles. Name's Ravenclaw, the Griffin answered. Cool name! Nightingale replied, flying up next to the Griffin with her hoof extended. My name is Nightingale. I know, Raven replied with a chuckle as he shook her hoof. Let's have a good match, little mare. Nightingale and Raven broke off only to clash again in a fury of blades as they fought and flew at the same time, their wings a blur of black and white as they each tried to gain the advantage. Have you ever seen a display, folks? Because I haven't, the announcer yelled through his amplifier. Look at them fly, such power, such velocity and speed. Who knew a pony could fight like that? And in her seat overlooking the fight, Luna held a small little smirk on her lips as the gathered griffins around her had their beaks on the floor. Even King Silverus was impressed. Of course, she wished she could be screaming her head off in support of her pony. But etiquette and all that impressed Silverus, she giggled as the king picked his jaw off the ground. I think I see another win for my side. The king looked at her with an unreadable look and said, I wouldn't be too sure about that. Luna turned her attention back to the arena where Nightingale and Raven clashed blades into a pillar, kicking up a large crowd of dust. The crowd was hushed into silence as they waited for the dust to clear, and when it did, Nightingale and Raven stood across from one another with each other's blades pressed against the other's neck. A statement, unless one of them was willing to take the risk of getting their throat slit. What do you say to a draw, my dear princess? Silverus drawled as he inspected his talents. The princess of the night didn't like conceding defeat, but in this matter she was willing to swallow her pride, not wanting to lose a talented warrior such as Nightingale over a few trade bargains. We agreed to a draw. I presume the next match will be double the stakes? Why, of course, Silverus replied with a smirk as he waved to the announcer to call off the match. Retaking his seat, He feasted on some blackberries while the combatants changed out. I hope your last champion is up to the task, going against my finest gladiator. I expect this to be quite the match. Sixes will be up to the task, and much more, I assure you. I simply hope the arena will survive if things get hectic. Luna could feel the eyes of every griffin in the booth turn to her. They were probably wondering what she meant. Most would probably play it off as a bluff or intimidation tactic, but there was no need for such things with Sixes. He was intimidation itself. Just wait and see, my feathered friends, said Luna confidently. Just wait and see. Sixes took his position across his opponent, a griffin named Glider, who was your basic eagle and lion breed griffin. If Topaz was right about the griffins ordering, then this guy would be the strongest, or at least the most senior fighter among their group. He didn't look overly impressive in any real way, but you know what they say about looks being deceiving. That just means he wouldn't underestimate him. From what Sixes could tell, Glider carried no weapon, not even wing blades, meaning he was most likely skilled in close quarter combat. He must be extremely good to not carry a weapon. More than likely, he relied on his talons and beak as his weapons. On my mark, the announcer said, raising his claw to the air. Begin! Like a bat out of hell, Sixes took flight, with Glider hot on his tail. Whipping around, Sixes dived between the pillars, weaving in and out at high speeds, with Glider managing to keep pace. Breaking off, Sixes propelled himself backwards, his claws flexed open for an attack. Glider countered by raising his talons, which was what Sixes intended for him to do as he spread a stream of fire onto the griffin. The flames weren't nearly as strong as normal since he had no time to charge the flame, but the attack did its job and sent Glider veering off with a smoking leg. Grinning with satisfaction, Sixes gave chase, blasting multiple fire blasts at the retreating griffin to control his flight path. He didn't just want to win, he wanted to show the griffins just what they would face if they ever thought about attacking Equestria again. Increasing speed, Sixes got right on top of Glider and swung down, raking his claws against the griffin's back. Glider let out a yelp as his feather became stained with blood. He fluttered in midair as his wound was right between his wing joints. Too low to land on the platform, the griffin launched himself onto the side of the pillar with his talons, using all his strength to just hold himself up. In other words, he was a sitting duck and he knew it. His fear began to grow as Sixes floated behind him, the dragon pony's chest expanding and glowing with magic. Glider could see the heat stream raising from Sixes' mouth as hot droplets of lava spilled from between his lips. He was going to roast him alive? Glider turned away, keeping his eyes shut tight. This wasn't the way it was supposed to go. This wasn't how he wanted to die. The crowd gasped, probably because the dragon pony was opening his mouth to attack. He could feel the heat from here. He waited for the attack, preparing for the last few painful seconds of life. Sixes fired, but not at him. What? Glider couldn't believe his eyes as a pillar next to the one he was on engulfed in lava. Once more, Sixes was beside him, holding out his claw. Come on, he said. Let's get you out of here. Thinking of no logical reason for the dragon pony to drop him, Glider grabbed Six's claw, allowing the dragon pony to tow him back to the top of the pillar, where he was dropped off safe and sound into the chairs of the crowd. Why? Questioned the griffin. Why did you save me? Sixes chuckled as he patted Griffin on the back, being careful not to hit the griffin's injuries. There was no reason to. Well, I guess more accurately, there's more reasons to let you live than to kill you. I may not know the history between the griffins and Equestria, but I know there are bad and there is a lot of resentment on both sides to this day. I guess I just didn't want to add to it. Besides, while not a very exciting match, I made my point, did I not? I say you did, Glider replied, as he craned his neck to inspect his injuries. That's definitely going to scar. I'm lucky you didn't sever my wings from my spine. I thought about it. Glider narrowed his eyes at the dragon pony. You were holding back then? Sixes nodded. I see. I suppose I'll have to train harder for our next match then. You don't want to continue? I wouldn't mind a little claw versus talon match here on the ground. That's your specialty, right? Glider nodded. Yes it is. But I'd rather lose today and beat you tomorrow when I'm 100%. So there's no shadow of a doubt who's the better warrior. I forfeit this round to you, Sixes. Glider held up his claw, which Sixes took gladly. They shake hand claws as the announcer called an end to the match. I look forward to our next battle, Sixes said as he departed the arena. Looks like I win. Silverus hummed beside her, looking away as he coughed into his claw. It was truly a funny sight to see, for Luna, made all the more sweeter by the fact won the trade negotiations. Now she not only had the rights to cross 10 miles into Griffin territory without permission, but she also got the rights to produce soda pop in Equestria. The latter may not seem that big of a deal, but she was sure a few clever ponies could make some commerce with the new product. Finally, the best part of the deal, gaining access to Griffin armor forging methods and designs. Starling will have a field day when he lays his eyes on the blueprints. Do you wish to meet in my chambers, King Silverus? I'm sure they would be very happy to have the king comment on their performance. Perhaps another time. Silverus rose and signed for his escort. If you'll excuse me, Princess Luna, some important matters have come up and need my attention. I will have my son draw up the trade agreements in my place. Please have a safe journey home. Luna watched the Griffin King leave. Questions filled her head as she analyzed the king's tone and words. The trade talks were supposed to go for at least another day or two, though with this tournament they managed to speed through that usually lengthy progress. Ugh. But if she didn't know better, she would say Silverus was politely telling her to get lost. Will you accompany me down to the dugouts, Prince Silverquist? She asked the Griffinaire. He nodded and followed her down to her ponies, who were celebrating their victory with zeal. "Yeah, we're going to get so hammered when we get back," Nightingale proclaimed. Pegasus' new love for alcoholic beverages was beginning to get concerning. Perhaps another dream walk was in order. "Oh, hi, Luna. Did you see how awesome those matches were?" Luna visibly sighed as she touched down in front of 3 night hunters, her eyes on Nightingale. "Yes, I did. Very impressive. But please do not forget yourself, Nightingale." The Pegasus turned a deep shade of crimson as she coughed into her hoof. "Sorry, Princess, got a little too excited." "It's okay. Just remember the rules from now on." Encouraging ponies to call her Luna was turning into a double-edged sword more and more now. While Luna loved how much closer she was to her ponies, there were some unsavory ponies that were abusing the privilege, most of them being outsiders, but the message were clear. She needed to draw the line of who could address her casually, and she made it a point that all night patrollers, regardless of how fond she was of them, were to address her by her full title when on duty and outside the castle walls. "Come, let us go to the throne room and—" "Actually," Prince Silverquist interrupted, "it would be better if we finished the trade deal on your ship. I feel it would be best that you be on your way as soon as possible." Luna looked suspiciously at the prince. Something strange was going on. "Why is that? Why do you wish us to leave so quickly? Do we not have 2 more days of negotiations to do?" "We did," the prince said, "but that has been rendered mute. You have your conditions and terms. There is no reason to delay matters further. My father pushed aside many things to make this meeting happen, and now that all of the important matters are done, he can go back on schedule. You understand how it is." Of course, he was expecting a bit longer vacation from his delegates, but they'll be hounding him to no end now that he's free once again. Luna bowed her head. Here she had been thinking the king was of being rude, when she was the rude one. Silverquist was right. She had what she came for. Their business was done. To stay any longer would just be a burden on King Silverus, who was undoubtedly busy running his own kingdom. "Yes, our ship would be a good spot to finish the signing. Please accompany us so that we may be out of your way as soon as possible." "Sounds good." Silverus smiled at Luna and her guards prepared to take off. "And Princess, please, don't take it personally. The wounds of the war still run deep in many griffins. It will take time for us to completely be comfortable to be around ponies again." Luna opened her mouth to reply, but her words fell short, so she simply replied, "Understandable," and took off with Sixes, Topaz, and Nightingale flying behind her. From the stands, King Silverus watched his son follow after the princess and her guards, if that's even the right word to use to describe those monsters. That's what they were too. They were monsters. He had hoped the news he had been told was untrue, but having seen them for himself, he could not deny what his eyes saw. Equestria was making monster ponies, no doubt for only one purpose: war. "I thank you for your warning, my dear friend. I only wish I had believed you sooner," Silverus said to a figure in the shadows. I know you've already begun production, but we'll need to speed things up before it's too late. All in good time, King. I trust our funding will no longer be in question, the figure replied, stepping into the light. It was a pony, a brown earth pony. Yes, we have no choice. If Equestria is preparing for another invasion on my kingdom, then I must be prepared to do whatever needs to be done to defend my subjects, even if it means creating the same monstrous beings. The earth pony smiled, and he pulled a bottle from under his coat. Inside was a brightly colored insect-looking creature. Allow me to present to you our first present to you. We call this a breezy. They're little insect ponies with a high intelligence, designed to be the perfect spy. Give this as a gift to Princess Luna before she departs, and all of Equestria's plans will be in our host before they can do any damage. You'll have perfect insider intel, as if they brief the plan directly to you, and best of all, even if they suspect a traitor, who would ever consider this little cutie? With a heavy heart, Severus took the bottle from the pony. Very useful tool indeed, my friend. I eagerly wait for your next gift. If you excuse me, Dr. Wolfenstein. Wolfenstein kept his composure till the king was gone. From the room, suddenly breaking out into a full smile, which turned into a chuckle and then a full-blown laughter. He couldn't believe how easy it was to fool the king. The poor sap would never see the end coming till it was too late. By then, both Equestria and the Griffin Kingdom would be under his hoof. Just wait, Princess Luna. Revenge will be mine. But not before you suffer. And oh, how I will make you suffer. Far away from both Canterlot and Griffinstone, something was happening in the small border town at the edge of Equestria. The town itself was in ruins. The fires from the attack were still burning, and the bodies of the town ponies were littered everywhere, stallion and mares, all except the foals. There were no fillies or colts around. At first, that was a relief for the squad of night patrollers investigating the attack, but then their minds began to wander. What happened to them? I don't like this, Crusader, the leader of the patrol, said along as he observed the wreckage. Before him, imprinted in the dirt, were many hoof prints from the villagers, probably when they were fleeing for their lives. Mixed in were another set of prints, definitely not ponies, but something with a hoof for sure. He sniffed the air, trying to get a read of the scents, but smoke clouded his sense of smell, meaning the fires had been set deliberately to cover the attackers' trail, meaning the attackers were no mindless beast. Are there any other species that live around here? Crusader asked his unit. Several of them looked quizzingly between each other before one stepped forward and answered. I think there are some deer tribes in this area, if I remember right. The pony named Bright Rain answered. He was one of the few bad ponies that joined Night Patrol. This would be his first mission. Crusader nodded as he looked at the tracks again. They could be deer, but why would deer attack a pony town? As he heard from his father Six's, relations between the deer tribes and the pony tribes were doing fairly well. Sir, we found something, another pony shouted out. Crusader trotted over the pony, which was behind one of the few intact buildings. Following the pony's hoof, he spotted an antler, much like his own, stuck into the wall. From the blood at the base of the horns, it seemed the antler was ripped from the owner's head. However, that wasn't all. There was blood stain on the floor as well, a paw print to be exact. This changes things. I don't think deer attacked this village. I think they were running to the village for safety. Crusader narrowed his eyes. Something was chasing them. Deer are no pushovers. They could make a whole herd flee their home, Bright Rain asked, as Crusader walked further beyond the ruined building, all the way to the edge of the village. There, in the mud, was one large footprint. No pony could determine what sort of creature could make such a large track, but they knew for certain two things. One, that it was big. Two, it had claws. Crusader put his claw into the print. It was nearly 5 times larger than his own. I assume whatever made this. Come on, let's see if we can find this thing. We're really going after it. Bright Rain squeaked fearfully. Crusader just looked at him with a blank stare. Of course we are. It's our job to do so. Now come on. You might still be able to catch it. Crusader replied, storming off into the forest, leaving his unit to stumble fearfully in his wake. The white wren might not be afraid of the creature ahead, but they were. This was supposed to be a simple recon mission. Something for the greenhorns to get their hooves wet with. Not full-blown monster hunt. They followed regardless, as it was their duty to. Commander Crusader, wait up! Oh, and here we thought we'd seen the last of the Doctor. Okay, besides that, I'm pretty sure you guys caught some references in here as well. Kudos to you, Foxgear. I did not catch this the first time I read it, but after reading this out loud, Griffin, Ravenclaw, kudos. I'm not sure you intended for that to happen, but I give you a 10 out of 10 for that one. And Severus, another reference. Perfect. Love it. Loved it very much. Oh. What big creatures is Night Patrol after next? What's going to happen with the Breezies, and what does the Doctor have in store for both Griffin and ponies? Find out. Because there's only about 10 chapters left in Night Patrol. I bid you all a good night. And safe dreams.